Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Shift Points. We're going to start out by working on a 1955 Chevrolet truck. This truck has an LS swap from a 2009 Chevy Silverado on it. I know everybody else is doing that too, but just give you a little history on the truck itself. This truck project started probably about 5 years ago. It started out as a customer truck, worked on it off and on for a few years, ended up that the shop ended up purchasing it from the customer, and so it sat dormant for a couple years. We worked on some other customer projects, trying to get those ready for everybody, and we've just now in the past couple months got to where we could really start working on this thing again. So now that we're back working on it, we want to try and get everyone up to date on what we've got going on. So this here's the truck that we've been working on over the past 5 years or so. Like I said, it is a 1955 Chevrolet truck. I know some of you are looking at it and saying, hey, wait, that's got the 54 grill. So in 55, there was actually the first series and the second series of these trucks. So for the first 3 months of 55, they still produced the trucks that basically looked like a 54. So it is a 55 truck. It is the first series 55. So you can see there has been some stuff done to it here. So we swapped in a LS out of a 2009 Chevy Silverado. This is a bone stock engine. We haven't done anything to it other than just drop it in here at this point. So, like I said, this truck's really interesting. It was kind of, when we first started it about 5 years ago, it was at the forefront of kind of that LS swap, I would say. Probably about 5-6 years ago is when that became so popular like it is today, and you see them in literally everything. So yeah, we're a little behind on that as far as that goes, but like I said, this engine was a low mile engine. It is a 4L60, 4L60E transmission behind it as well. Again, it'll all be fine because it's just a bone stock 5.3. Now at some point we might be hopping this up and doing a little more work to it, but we'll just have to see how that goes. So like I said, when we started this truck 5 years ago, it's not like they made a kit to just slap a 5.3 into a 55 Chevrolet truck. So there's been a lot of things that we've had to do, and honestly, probably the industry has changed a lot since we started doing this. But this is the direction that we decided to go for with it. So with it, over the past couple months, the truck had a bunch of work that was already done to it. Like I said, the engine was already in it. There's a Ford 9-inch under it as well. Basically there was so much done. Me and Dad started talking about it and started asking the question of like, what do we need to do to get this truck going? And there was a really short list. I mean, honestly, if you take and you look at this list that we have here to finish this truck, and that's right now, and this is actually, we've already been working on it for a little while, for the past couple months. I mean, it's basic finish wiring, install gauges, bolt down the bed, tighten brake fittings. There's so much work that's been done to this. And it absolutely blew my mind that it's been sitting here for as long as it has. And honestly, the bulk of it is sitting in this list. Now, of course, there's going to be a few odds and ends that we put in here that will had to be added to that list, but that's just part of it. So like I said, with the 5.3, we decided to go with PSI. PSI builds custom wiring harnesses for LS engines. They're really cool. You buy them, you tell them what you're going to do with it, you show them everything that you've done. The harness itself comes all lubed up. It comes with all the sensors already attached. All you got to do is, in general, lay it onto the engine, plug everything in, and route the wires. So on top of that, for the truck itself, we also decided to go with a Ron Francis kit for the basic wiring, headlights, taillights, column, all of that. So with that, we've had a lot of good luck with these Ron Francis kits. We've put them in a few different things at this point. A customer had a Ford Bronco we swapped one into about a year ago now, I guess. So it's really cool. Like I said, it has everything labeled. Everything looks super nice. You can see that once this gets put back on right there, everything is labeled. You can see everything. All of these, all the wires and everything are pre-terminated in some cases. And then the other cool thing, and we'll slip out here to the horn so I can show you a good example of it. Every wire is labeled. So you can see it goes to the number that it needs to go to in the fuse box and then where it goes to for the horn. So literally anyone can do this, including myself, which is why Dad has put me in charge of getting it wired. You can see there's wires that run everywhere. Like I said, we have been working on this recently before we decided to start filming everything. So you can see I've got wires run everywhere to the fuel tank. to the fuel pump. This is all the rear wiring for the rear tail lights, turn signals, and all that. And the grounds and all that too. Everything's separate. Again, that's the other thing that's really cool about this kit, is that basically everything's pre-labeled, even the grounds. You have certain ground blocks and ground terminals that you can do. Ron Francis is, as everyone knows, the electrical work is so dependent on grounds nowadays, especially doing this stuff with LSs and different things like that. These old trucks like this, old 60s trucks, things like that, had terrible wiring systems, terrible ground systems. The wiring itself probably wasn't so bad, but they would ground just off of a headlight housing or something like that, tail light housing, instead of giving a fully independent ground for that particular light or whatever. So you'd have a lot of light fade. You'd have the ghost grounds, if you will, that would show a light every once in a while, would blink or it wouldn't blink. And so these kits really take that completely out of the equation. The customer decided this. He told us when he came to us with this truck, he said, hey, I really want something that's bulletproof. And while we aren't personally, in most of our stuff, we don't run 9 inches and things like that, while they are an extremely great rear end, that's something that he wanted, you know, something that he felt like was very reliable and something that he could do something with. So, you know, we swapped in this Ford 9-inch on this. It has a full Borla exhaust. Borla is made over in Tennessee, not too far away from here, actually. And so you can see just some of the really cool work that's been done here with the exhaust work. Dad did all of this exhaust work. He put it all together. You can see, if we can get this light turned off a little bit here. Not that much. So you can see some of these welds and things that he's done on this. It's a full stainless kit. It's really nice work. You can see some of the welds that Dad does. And all of this, excuse me, all of this is just the many hours that are part of this truck. It has strange axles. It's got full disc brakes all the way around. So this truck is like, it's like the perfect, to me, it's going to end up being a really great, just like daily driver. You can do basically whatever you want with it, just because of some of the upgrades that have been done here that allow this to happen. So like I said, we've got disc brakes front and rear now. This is the brake booster's been mounted under the truck, and you can see all the proportionate valve and all the brake lines. So when this truck, whenever they ended up we stopped working on this for a couple years. This was already done. All of this was. So basically, over the past 2 months, the only thing that we have done is just start to wire it and do some of the mocking up of the intakes. Dad's been working today actually on trying to find some radiator hoses. Again, you might be surprised, but they don't just make a kit that says put a brand new aluminum radiator in a 55 Chevrolet truck and then bolt that to a 5.3 LS. So because of the LS that's in this engine, of course, we had to basically redo the entire fuel system. We dropped a in-tank fuel pump into a tank's tank. I think the fuel pump actually came from them as well. So we'll show you this as well. So you can see here what we've got going on here. This is, like I said, that's an in-tank pump. The fuel sending unit's over here as well. We got the braided lines that run up to the front of the, actually up to a fuel pressure regulator. That's under the cab, or excuse me, under the frame here. So that's a fuel pressure regulator there. And then of course, like I said, the hoses that run down here into the tank. This tank bolts up under the bed, which completely eliminated the need for the tank that was behind the seat. So this door has also been, well, man, having a party. So this, Dad made a patch panel here. It's just tacked in place right now. All that'll get fixed, and as we go along, that'll get touched up. Like I said, this also allowed for a little more room behind the seat as far as everything goes. So, I mean, me and Dad are 6 foot, 6'4", so we need to make sure that we got as much room here as you can, so where we can even drive this thing. The other thing, this truck was super solid as far as the exterior goes. When it came here, the worst part of it was actually in the cab. The floor pans were pretty rotten. They were pretty bad. So Dad came in here and replaced these floor pans, replaced over here all of this stuff. So you can see he just took that, took one of the stock floor pans from, I don't know where he ended up buying it, but took that and and got it welded in place to get rid of any rust that's in it. So the truck is 100% rust free. You can see because of the 4L60 that we put in, the 4L60E that's in it, we had to cut a big section out of the floor. He's built a transmission tunnel. I think it's back here. Yeah, it's back here. So he's built a transmission tunnel. I think he wants to do a little bit more work to it. We'll see how that goes. But you can see because of the direction and how we mounted the engine in here itself, we actually had to come in here under the seat, and he had to build a little bit of an extension tunnel here in the seat to clearance everything there as well. So all the angles, all the pinion angle, all of that is really great on this truck. So of course, before we ever fire this engine up, which honestly we're not that far away, and I'm hoping to do here in the next couple weeks, hopefully. One of the things we definitely want to do is make sure that we have gauges so that we can make sure that, you know, of course, everything's going as it's supposed to. With my wiring that I've done, I'm pretty comfortable with everything. I think everything's been done as closely as possible with the integration of the 3 systems as far as the gauge harness, the PSI harness, and the Ron Francis harness here. I've tried to make sure that everything was as bulletproof as possible, but things happen. So before Christmas, we were trying to decide on what kind of gauges that we wanted to run. So we actually have the stock gauges over here that were in this truck. They're really cool looking, you know. So you got this original. This is what it originally looked like. This would have been on the right side. You got your engine temp, you got your fuel level, oil pressure, and the amps. Of course, this has been converted away from amps. And then on the other side, this has been disassembled somewhat, and then the actual speedometer here. So we started looking into that because we really wanted to, again, if someone's not really paying attention, we want them to make sure that they don't even realize what we're working on. So we talked to Classic Instruments, looked into Classic Instruments again. We've used these on other projects as well, on a 34 Ford. Some years ago, we put these into a 34 Ford. They make really nice stuff. And you can see here, this is the gauge that we came up with. This is extremely close to the stock style gauge. This is your speedometer. We got LED turn signals. You got high beam indicator, and then down here on the bottom we also have the tach. Because again, that's something really important that we want to be able to see, especially if we ever do anything with this besides keeping it bone stock. And then on the right side itself, you also have your voltage, your fuel level, oil pressure, and your temperature. So if you take these, I'm going to take one of these and put it in here. And with these beauty rings that they have, hop into the truck here. Try and be careful here best I can. So you can actually see just how basically stock that all looks. You know, you don't have to worry about it. Everything looks like it's just supposed to be there. So like I was talking about earlier, as far as trying to make everything fit and do everything that it's supposed to do, we built this intake. Basically pieced together. This is a Spectre piece of hose, Spectre piece of hose, and then a Spectre pipe with a really nice K&N air filter on it. You've seen these on 100 of these at this point. I mean, everybody's running a similar system as like this. So we got the mass airflow sensor here. This is an upgraded mass airflow sensor that PSI recommended to use for this engine and what we were doing. Dad's went in here and welded this bung in so that this would basically just screw in. So everything, again, is just supposed to be neat, clean, very functional. Built a standoff to go here, bolts to the inner fender. So you can see there, bolts to the inner fender. It's come up and welded to this tube, so if we ever need to do it, take out 2 bolts, take this off, the whole assembly will come out completely out of the way. I think that's a really great place to start on this truck. I think it gives you a really good rundown on what all we have done over the past few years, over the past couple months. The big changes that have happened in the past couple months is, of course, starting that wiring with the Ron Francis kit, getting the intake, getting all that stuff wrapped up, getting the fans bolted in, getting the radiator mounted, and all of that. So, like I said, we've made a lot of headway on this truck in the past couple months. Dad was even skeptical about videoing this truck because we were so far along on it for this. But I think this really gives you a nice starting point on some of the stuff that we do here and really tells you let you see what we could do and then where this truck's going. I said it earlier in this, we haven't decided completely on if this truck will stay as a shop truck, if it's going to stay here with us, or if it's going to, if we end up flipping it and end up selling it to somebody. I think it would I think it's going to make a really great truck either way. You know, if we're using it, we're really bad to hold on to stuff. So I think if we keep this truck and we run it, we're not going to do anything to the paint. That's usually the first question that anybody asks. Paint is literally the last thing on my mind, probably even more than Dad's. So as far as paint goes, it's going to stay this way. You saw, I don't know if you could see it, there's some spots on the paint, some white specks that got in it from where this truck used to be hung up in an old barn, actually, whenever it was initially purchased. I know everybody says it's a barn find, but this one was literally in pieces hanging in a barn. So there's some specks of paint that got on it. This has been repainted, but we're just going to get those white specks off and then just polish it, you know, just make it look pretty good how it is. Again, paint's the last thing on any of our minds. So if it's ours, we're definitely going to leave it this way. If we decide to sell it, we're probably just going to let whoever buys it, if they want to paint it, to do that paint work, because that'd be a really big job to get all that stuff done. Watch it now. And so if we can get all this done, there's some imperfections for sure, but I mean, really, like I said, it's going to be a super solid truck. Any of the rust that was in it was in the floor pans, and Dad's actually already taken care of all of that. Hey everyone, if you liked anything that you just saw, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop anything that you have any questions about in the comments. We're just getting started, so we want to try and make sure that we get feedback. Anything that you liked, anything that you didn't like, or any questions that you have about anything that you just saw, make sure you put that down there. We're happy to answer it. We're really excited about this, and we want to try and make sure that we give you guys the best possible content that we possibly can. So if you guys don't mind, make sure you're doing all the things you're supposed to do when you watch the YouTube video. Thanks for joining Shift Points.